So let's start by knowing you, your name and your position.
Okay, my name is Obiajulu Princess Ugu. I am the Deputy Chief with Enugu State House of Assembly. I represent Enugu South Rural Constituency and I am the House Committee Chairperson on Water Resources. Recently, um, because of the Southeast um, public hearing, Senate public hearing on the reserved seats bill for women, I was appointed the chairperson delegates committee for this hearing. Beyond that, I am a member of NYLOWV, like you already said. I have been with NYLOWV since 2019 till date.
Wow.
And I ran elections in 2019 for the State House of Assembly under a small party, and that was what launched me into the leadership space today. And by the grace of God, I am currently serving, as you can see, and it's been a beautiful experience being a legislator who people expect to do the works of the executive. But we're here, and then we'll keep pushing.
Oh
Thank
yes,
you.
sure.
Okay, I'd like to say that first of all, I'd like to define clearly what the duties of a legislator is. And the duties of a legislator is lawmaking, representation, and oversight. And what my being a member of NYLOV has helped me do as a legislator is in channeling my energy appropriately to these three items I have mentioned. Oftentimes, people mismanage or misquote legislators for for the executive, and it makes them expect us to do things like build houses, hospitals, and construct the roads, construct boreholes, buy them transformer, and a whole lot. But having been in NYLOV and with all the capacity trainings that I gained through NYLOV, I learned what it is, what my duty is. What my duty is as a representative, I said representation, is to know what exactly are the needs of my people and factor it into the policies that are being made in the state. Secondly, I also make sure that every law made in the state does not infringe in the personal and human right of my constituents. And then for oversight, I ensure that every project that is done in my constituency is of standard. And when it is not up to standard, I make sure to report that appropriately. Beyond just my duties as a legislator, I will also always do what we call corporate social responsibilities. So in my CSR, I try as much as possible to give back to the community, to those who voted for me. How do I do that? During my campaigning, I promised in several areas that these are the areas that I am going to be hitting much on. I talked about health, I talked about agriculture, I talked about the youth and skills acquisition, I also talked about the children. And so far, so good. I also talked about mentorship because if we don't mentor people, we cannot have people who will replace us. We can't have capable hands who will get into the seat when I leave here tomorrow. I intend to leave a legacy here. Oftentimes, people leave seats and they don't do proper handover. Someone else will be coming here to stay tomorrow. I hope to make it very easy, the transition very easy and seamless for the person by doing a proper handover. If I hadn't been in Nilo, if I hadn't been exposed to the capacity that I was exposed to, I wouldn't be thinking in that direction. thank you very much. This is an area I always want to talk about. When I introduced myself, remember I said I was just made the chairperson on the delegation committee to the public hearing, Senate public hearing for the reserved seat bills for women. What does this bill intend to achieve? It intends to create more seats. Having seen the marginalization that women has faced over the years, it intends to create extra seats. Why are we creating extra seats or looking to create extra seats? Most times when we say out of the 360 seats in the House of Representatives, please reserve 35% for women. Men will always say, so who will leave their seats for another woman to come in?
Wow.
Thereby, we now devised this one to create an extra seat that does not limit women from contesting in the other existing seats, but for this to be, you know, a way to measure up a bit with what we already have in the male side of the representation. So in Enugu State, we have 24 seats in the House of Assembly, and we have two occupied by women, myself and another woman. And that is an abysmal percentage, very sad percentage. But thankfully, the governor of Enugu State listened to our plea, my personal plea for inclusion of women. And I can recall he promised, he said, I will make sure, when I asked that as a question to him, he said, I will make sure to include more women in appointive positions. And that he has done to a very great extent. You can see that in the local government commission, we have a woman as one of the board members. In NSUBEB, we have a woman as one of the board members. The Trade and Investment Ministry is being headed by a young woman. We requested for both young people and for women, and that he has done. So, in appointive positions, I give it to the governor of Enugu State that he has done marvelously well. But the elective position wasn't solely in his hands to handle. I am very sure that if he had the powers, if it was just for him, we would have achieved 35% representation in elective positions for Enugu State. So we are not where we want to be, but we're sure getting there. Of course, let us even look at the just concluded or the system that's already been almost concluding the local government system. I come from Enugu South, and what are we looking for? We're looking for 35% representation of women. And so we have 13 wards in Enugu South. And I can categorically tell you that Enugu South is one local government that has 35 or at least 30% inclusion.
Wow.
Because we have 4 women out of the 13.
Wow. Wonderful.
That is a step in the right direction.
Yes.
And I believe that that has answered the question of what the plan is. If we had not had much interactions with the governor and he did that, he ensured that he asked them to make sure that women run in certain places for my local government, and it worked out. So I believe that we're going to replicate this in the further elections, council elections that will be coming. We also made sure that we have at least one woman, at least. I know it is least, but you know that there are also, gimmicks connected to the political shenanigans that goes on. But at least there are times when we didn't have even one deputy mayor. But today we have a deputy mayor who is a woman.
Wow.
And I believe, I trust this governor so much that in the next council elections, we will ensure that there are seats reserved for women to contest only. Okay, so this is the state assembly, and in the past, I pushed a motion for um, a motion for a state of emergency to be declared on the southeast roads, federal roads. Why did I do that? Oftentimes, when we have bad roads, it is our children giving birth to by women that get into accidents. We are the ones who feel the bruise the more. When it comes to economic impact, we are also the ones who fly all those routes to go and buy one thing or the other,
That's right.
to sell on the other parts
That's
of the
right.
nation. So I pushed for a motion that we have our growth attended to urgently. And I saw that within a space of less than 6 months, we started using that Enugu Port Harcourt Expressway, and more roads that I cannot mention now have
Wow.
gotten attention. Okay, my biggest challenge in Enugu State House of Assembly will be that most times they want to address all of us as men, and I want to be addressed as a woman. Because if you're addressed as a man, it means that you should struggle for things the way men will struggle for it. And of course, you know that we are not the same.
Mm-hmm.
We are two sides of a coin that complement each other. So I have always wanted them to distinguish that we have 22 men and 2 women. Because if I allow us to say that we are all men in the houses of assembly, then there will be no need for reserved seats
That's right.
in the house.
That's
So
right.
what have I done?
Hmm.
I make sure to politely, respectfully correct the impression whenever it is made, whether verbally, written, anyhow. I make sure to always say, in the politest of way,
Hmm.
that we are 2 women in the house and 22 men in the State House of Assembly. So, and my colleagues will always, when they want to, they will always turn and say, Princess is here, oh, make sure you, the gender balance is there. Yeah.
That's a strong stand, and I must commend you for that. That's wonderful. Now, if we may ask you this, but I don't know if I should reserve this for the chairperson, but let me just say, what role does NYLOV play in addressing issues such as gender-based violence, early marriage, or access to healthcare for women in Enugu communities?
The role that NYLOV plays cannot be overemphasized. NYLOV is one of the organizations that has the highest level of community engagement, sensitization, and advocacy for healthcare, for gender based violence, for everything that affects the girl child and the woman at large. So they do a whole lot, at least I see a whole lot of that advocacy and sensitization. They also give help most times. They help to, receive victims of gender based violence and then hand them over to the commission that is in charge. Okay, like I told you when we started this interview, I told you that my duty is representation. My duty is to hear what my constituents are saying. And of course, I represent the rural. So it means that I am at the middle of where you have a lot of rural women, grassroots women.
Mhm.
And what do? I listen to, they frequent my office. It is our office, and it is one thing that they enjoy, that some of them come here, and when they are leaving they are like, this is the first time that they are meeting whoever that is representing them, and they will come and see me. It's not like you will come and you finish waiting and they will say I didn't. If I don't see the person, it means that I am on another state engagements that will make me not to be available. But sure, they will always come around and come and talk about how their land, how they were told to pay land use charges. How can they pay land use charge in their village? You know, stuff like that. So,
Yes.
but we have a room. We also hope, because it is a rural, I'm finding it very difficult to have a virtual engagement. If not, we would have had a lot of virtual town halls. Why? Because we have paucity of funds. So it might be difficult to, hold hold town halls, physical town halls for these women. But we make sure that we relate with our coordinators in different wards, in different, clusters, to get back to us on what is bothering them, and make sure that it is infused into the state's policy. My message to them is always simple: consistency. Keep playing full out. Don't feel that you don't belong, or that you can first of all believe in yourself, be ready, and then the sky will be your starting point. One of the biggest legacy I want to leave behind is the level of impact I would have made in mentorship, in mentoring other women into leadership, mentoring them, building their capacity to be ready to run. That is what I am currently doing. There is no year that I don't do one, two, three, or at least three capacity building, leadership capacity building classes
Wow.
for young, both those in secondary schools and those in the tertiary institution. That's the legacy I want to. I want to be able to say that I have passed down this to this generation.
All right, thank you so much, Ma. This brings us to the end of our interview session with you. And once again, we appreciate you for your time and for your amazing work. We appreciate you, Ma.
This is a place of service for inside Africa. There is nothing that we can do without being in that, having that passion to serve. So what you're doing is commendable. I pray that God will continue to strengthen and uplift you. And for me, wherever there needs to be a recommendation for media and visibility, I'll be sure to mention Inside Africa.
Thank you so much, Ma. We really appreciate you once again. God bless you and bless your office.
Thanks.
Thank you so much, Ma.
All right.